Welcome to Zoe Stories. My crush's mom made me her perfect daughter. It all started with a smile. Not hers, mine. I smiled like an idiot when Lucia walked past me in the school hallway every morning. Her long black hair, her effortless laugh, the way she always wore those vintage denim skirts with ankle boots. She was the kind of girl you noticed in a crowd, but who never noticed you back. Until she did. My name's Josh, 17 years old. Average in almost every sense. My hair's messy in the kind of way that doesn't look cool. I work at a bookstore on weekends, help my mom around the house, and I have exactly one secret. Sometimes, when no one's home, I open the bottom drawer of my closet, the one behind the socks and old school books, and take out a small black box filled with things I can't explain. A sheer pair of tights. A pink lip gloss. A bra I bought with shaking hands from a thrift store in the next town. I didn't know why I had them, not really. I just knew that when I put them on, I didn't feel like Josh anymore. I felt something closer to alive. But none of that mattered when Lucia started talking to me. It started small, asking to borrow a pencil, asking what book I was reading, but it grew fast. Soon we were texting every night, sending memes, flirting. Well, she flirted. I mostly blushed and panicked. She was funny and weird in a way I hadn't expected. She didn't seem to care about being popular, even though she totally was. And then she invited me to her house. Just come over and hang, she said. My mom's super chill. She probably won't even be home. That's how I met Miss Carter. If Lucia was confident, her mom was a force of nature. A designer by profession, she had this air of effortless glamour, long auburn curls, pencil skirts, always in heels. She didn't just walk into a room. She owned it. And when she first saw me sitting nervously on their velvet couch, clutching a Sprite like it was a weapon, she just smiled and said, "Well, aren't you a polite little thing?" I laughed awkwardly. She called me sweet. She offered me cookies. It should have been a regular Friday hangout. It should have ended with some Netflix, a few laughs, maybe a goodnight hug if I was lucky. But then Lucia had to leave for the weekend. Emergency trip to see my dad, she texted. But Mom said you can still hang out. She liked you. A lot. Smirking face. That's where it really began. Saturday afternoon. I was in my room, home alone, thinking about how close I'd gotten to Lucia, and also about Miss Carter. Something about her made me nervous in a way I couldn't name. She asked a lot of questions. She noticed little things. Like the tiny glitter on the cuff of my sleeve that I hadn't realized was still there from a midnight crossdressing session 2 nights ago. You're not dating anyone else, right? She'd asked, teasing but her eyes sharp. And when I said no, she just smirked and said, "Good. You're too pretty to lie." Pretty. No one had ever called me that before. Certainly not meaning it. Backstory? Okay, here's the truth. I didn't start wearing women's clothes because of some grand revelation. It wasn't rebellion or fantasy. It just happened. It started with curiosity, sure. But over time, I realized there was something inside me, something soft, something that didn't fit into football games and Xbox parties. Something I kept hidden because even thinking about it out loud made my chest twist with guilt and fear. My mom wouldn't understand. My dad had passed away when I was 12, and since then, everything had been about man up and be strong for her. How could I explain that wearing lip gloss didn't feel like weakness, but relief? So I kept it a secret. Until that weekend. Ms. Carter called Saturday afternoon. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, her voice smooth like velvet. "Lucia told me you were free. I need a favor. Could you stop by and help me carry some things from the garage? My back's acting up." It was innocent enough. I walked over. She greeted me at the door in yoga pants and a tank top. Too casual, I thought, for someone who always dressed up. But her eyes were sharp. Watching. Measuring. I helped her carry 2 boxes into the kitchen. Then a third. She offered me lemonade. "You're good with your hands," she said. "Do you sew?" I blinked. "No." She smiled.
"Shame.
"You'd look stunning in satin." Something flickered in her tone. I tried to laugh, to change the subject, but it was too late.
She saw it.
That twitch in my expression. That barely perceptible pause. Josh, she said, her voice almost a whisper. Have you ever tried on women's clothes? My world stopped. My ears rang. My heart pounded. I couldn't speak. She leaned forward, elbows on the counter. You don't have to be ashamed, she said. I've seen that look before. I used to work with models, boys who wanted to be girls. Some of them just needed someone to tell them it's okay. I was frozen. And then she smiled, slow, deliberate, and said the words that changed everything. Why don't you try something on? Just for fun. I have the perfect outfit for you. That was the moment. Not the end, not the beginning, but the tipping point. I stood there, heart hammering, torn between terror and desire. Because a part of me wanted to say yes. Because somewhere deep down, I didn't want to be Josh anymore. Ms. Carter's tone was soft, but her eyes held something firm. Like she wasn't asking. Like she already knew I'd say yes. I was still frozen near the kitchen counter, the scent of lemon and lavender wafting around me like a net. My pulse pounded so loud I could barely think. Josh, she said again, walking around the island until she was beside me. You're safe here. I'm not judging you. I'm offering you something most people never get, permission. Permission? The word felt dangerous in my chest. I wanted to run, but I didn't. She turned and walked toward the hallway, heels clicking on the wood floor. Come on. Let's just look. You don't have to wear anything. But I followed. She led me into a spare room I hadn't seen before, flooded with soft afternoon light, walls lined with rolling racks of dresses, mannequins, open boxes of makeup, and stacks of fashion magazines. It wasn't a guest room. It was a transformation chamber. This is where I do my creative work, she said, picking up a silky blouse from a hanger. I used to do makeovers for clients. Sometimes for fun. Sometimes for money. I always said clothes don't lie. They show people who they wish they could be. She walked over to me, holding the blouse. Who do you wish you could be? My mouth was dry. I didn't know the answer. Or maybe I did, but I didn't have the courage to say it. She held the blouse closer. Pale lavender. Light. Feminine. Soft. Try it. My fingers trembled as I took it from her. She turned around politely, though she didn't really need to. I stood stiffly, unsure. But eventually I pulled off my hoodie, then my t-shirt. Then slowly slipped the blouse over my head. It was cool against my skin. It draped around me like a whisper. I looked down at my arms, bare, delicate, almost unfamiliar. You can look in the mirror. She gestured behind me. I turned. And for the first time, I didn't see just Josh. I saw someone new. Ms. Carter's expression didn't change as she looked me over, just a small, satisfied smile. You're a blank canvas, she said. Let me show you something. She sat me down in a white chair in front of the vanity. It felt surreal. Like I was watching someone else's life. She started with moisturizer, gently pressing it into my face. Then foundation. Concealer. A light brush of color on my cheeks. I should have stopped her. But I didn't. With every product she used, I felt something inside me soften. Disappear. The tension. The fear. The shame. By the time she traced liner around my eyes and added mascara, my reflection looked striking. Fragile. Alive. Now, she said, stepping back, what shall we do with your hair? She brushed it out, then pulled it into soft waves using a curling wand. I closed my eyes, not from fear, but from something else. Maybe peace. You really are pretty, she murmured. Lucia always liked soft boys. She just doesn't know how soft you really are. That sent a chill down my spine. Lucia. Had she told her mom anything? Had she suspected? You think Lucia knows? I asked quietly. She suspects, Miss Carter said calmly. But she's young. She wouldn't know how to guide you. But I can. I looked at myself again. And the truth hit me. I didn't want to take it off. That was the beginning. Over the next few hours, Miss Carter brought out more clothes, skirts, bras, stockings, shoes. She dressed me like a doll, but not in a humiliating way. There was care in her choices. Precision. She had me try on a soft pink skater dress with a belt around the waist. then a fitted navy pencil skirt and blouse combo that made me feel older, more composed. Then a red sundress that made my heart skip when I saw my reflection. She had accessories, clip-on earrings, a pearl necklace, even a wig that matched Lucia's hair color. As soon as she placed it on my head and brushed it down, I gasped. Because suddenly I didn't look like me anymore. I looked like someone who belonged in this house. Like someone who might be her daughter. Ms. Carter stood behind me and placed her hands on my shoulders. From now on, she said, when you're here, your name is Jessica. I stared at the mirror, barely breathing. Jessica. It didn't sound wrong.
The phone rang. We both jumped.
Ms. Carter picked it up in the hallway. I stayed frozen in the vanity chair, heart thudding in my chest. She came back in a moment later, face unreadable. That was Lucia, she said. She's coming home tonight instead of Sunday. Panic stabbed through me.
What?
I need to change. I can't let her see me like this. She raised a hand. Relax. She'll be home late. We have time. But I didn't feel calm. Suddenly, the dress was too tight. The earrings were heavy. The lip gloss sticky and loud. What was I thinking? I jumped up and grabbed at the back of the dress, trying to unzip it, fumbling. Ms. Carter stepped forward. Stop.
Her voice was firm.
Almost commanding. I froze again. You don't want to change back. You're just scared. You don't understand. Oh, but I do. She walked over, lifted my chin gently. You like the way this feels. Being soft. Being seen. Don't be afraid of who you really are. I swallowed. There was no going back. It was 7:30 p.m. Ms. Carter said she'd make dinner. She asked me to stay dressed while she cooked. Jessica deserves to enjoy this evening, she said. I stayed in the sundress. We ate pasta by candlelight, like some strange, twisted mother-daughter dinner. I tried to focus on the food, but every bite was a reminder that Lucia could walk in at any moment. Ms. Carter laughed as she poured us each a glass of wine. Just a sip, she said. Relax, she told me. You look beautiful. I tried to believe her, and maybe part of me did. But when the clock hit 8:15, I stood up. I need to change back. I can't risk it. Ms. Carter didn't stop me. She just watched as I walked toward the guest room. I opened the door and screamed, because standing there, eyes wide, lips parted, was Lucia. The air between us shattered like glass. Lucia stood in the doorway, her hand frozen on the knob, eyes locked onto me. The sundress clung to my figure, the soft wig brushing my cheek, my lips still shining faintly with gloss. What the hell?
She didn't yell.
She whispered, and somehow that was worse. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Her gaze dropped, traced the pearl necklace, the painted nails, the delicate shoes peeking from under the hem of the dress. Her eyes snapped back up. Are you wearing my mom's clothes? I backed up like a scared animal. Lucia, I can explain. It's not what you. But of course it was. She stepped in slowly, shutting the door behind her. The click echoed like thunder. You were here, dressed like this, while I was gone? My chest caved. She said it was okay. She helped me. She what? Ms. Carter suddenly appeared behind her, calm and collected as if nothing had happened. Lucia, sweetheart, she said, placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder. I was just helping Josh explore something about himself. Himself? He's dressed like... Lucia's voice cracked. Like a doll. I felt tears burn the corners of my eyes. I tried to speak, but Ms. Carter was faster. He wasn't pressured. He enjoyed it.
Didn't you, Jessica?
Jessica. Lucia's eyes widened at that name. Jessica? I sank into the vanity chair again, unable to face her. Lucia turned to her mom. Are you insane? Her voice was sharp now. He's a guy. You dressed him like this and called him your daughter. Ms. Carter corrected calmly. Lucia stormed out of the room. Ms. Carter sighed and calmly followed, leaving me alone with my shame and, oddly, my reflection. I looked into the mirror, searching for some sign of who I was before. Josh was buried. Jessica stared back. Did I like it? Yes. Did I hate myself for it? Also yes. Suddenly, Miss Carter called from down the hall. Come to the living room, Jessica. I hesitated, but followed. Lucia was pacing, eyes darting between me and her mother. I don't get it. Why him? Why me? You knew I liked him. Why would you do this? Ms. Carter folded her arms. Because he was hiding something. And I helped him see it. That wasn't your place. You wouldn't have understood. You're too young. He needed a woman's guidance, real direction. Lucia turned to me, her eyes glassy. Is this what you want? My voice broke. I don't know.
I didn't plan this.
I didn't expect it to feel so right. She stared at me, silently. Then she walked out. The front door slammed a second later. I sank onto the couch, numb. Ms. Carter sat beside me, crossed her legs, and handed me a glass of water. You're brave, she said.
No.
I'm confused. That too. Her smile was sharp. Silence lingered. Then she placed something in my lap, a satin box. Inside was a sky blue dress. Something delicate, like a First Communion outfit. If you want to go back to being Josh, you can. But if you put this on, you'll be Jessica from now on. At least in this house. Understood? It was a twisted offer. But it was also freedom. I stared at the dress. Did I want to stop now? After all this? Or was this the beginning of something real? I changed. I wore the blue dress. I fixed the wig. I even reapplied the lip gloss, this time without help. When Lucia came back a few hours later, quiet, uncertain, I was sitting on the patio, sipping tea like I belonged. She stood in the doorway, eyes locked onto me. You didn't leave. I shook my head. You stayed like this. I nodded. She stepped outside.
Her voice was low.
So, what now? Is this forever? I didn't answer. She looked at me long and hard, then whispered, I should be angry, but you're beautiful. It's weird to say that, but true. My chest squeezed. I don't know who I am anymore, I said. She sat beside me. Then let's figure it out. But I need honesty. No more secrets. I looked her in the eyes. Then you need to know something. When I wear these clothes, I feel real. More real than I ever have. She nodded. Okay. Then let's see who Jessica really is. Things got better. For a few days, Lucia and I had long talks. She watched as I learned to walk more gracefully in heels. She even painted my nails once. But Ms. Carter was always there, guiding, correcting, pushing. She bought me a wardrobe, gave me a room. She started calling me her daughter more often, even in public. And that's when I realized I wasn't in control anymore. One night, Lucia pulled me aside. You have to go home, she whispered. You've been here too long. She's getting possessive. But my mom thinks I'm staying with you. I know. But I heard her on the phone. She told someone you're not Josh anymore. That Jessica is staying permanently. My blood went cold. Was this a trap all along? Was I being remade? The next morning I tried to leave. I was halfway out the door when Miss Carter appeared in the hallway, blocking my path. Going somewhere? I need to go home. You're home. She lifted something from behind her back, the first blouse I wore. The lavender one. This is who you are. Don't you remember? I stared at it, trembling. Then something snapped. I yanked off the wig. It fell to the floor like a mask. I pulled the necklace from my throat. My lip quivered. I can't do this anymore. You're scared because you're close to becoming who you were meant to be. Or maybe you just want someone to control. She didn't deny it. She just smiled. The world will never love you like I do. Remember that. I ran. Down the street. Past the garden gate. Heels in my hand. Wig in my bag. My breath sharp and uneven as I tried to remember who I was before all this.
Josh.
But who was that really? By the time I reached my front door, the porch light flickered on. My mom opened it, half asleep in a robe.
Josh.
I nodded, trembling. She pulled me in without a word. I stood in the bathroom mirror that night, still dressed in a silk camisole I hadn't taken off. The remnants of mascara ringed my eyes. Lipstick smudged slightly around my mouth. The girl in the mirror looked wrecked and real. I wiped the lipstick away slowly. But the look in my eyes wouldn't disappear. Not anymore. 3 days passed. Lucia didn't call. Ms. Carter didn't text. I tried to feel like myself again. Played video games. Wore old hoodies. Hid the wig in the back of my closet again, like a ghost. But the silence was worse than anything. Then late Friday night, a knock. I opened the door. It was Lucia. She looked nervous, tired, but determined. We need to talk. We sat in my room, on the edge of the bed, surrounded by things that no longer felt like mine. I'm sorry, she said softly. I didn't know how far she'd go. I thought she was just trying to help. I didn't realize she was turning you into something for herself. I nodded, silent. But I also saw you, she continued. Really saw you. And you didn't look afraid. You looked right. I looked at her. And if I told you I still don't know who I am? Then we figured out. She reached into her bag and handed me something. A box. Inside, the lavender blouse. I looked up. She gave it to me, Lucia said. Said you'd want it. Said Jessica will come back, whether you like it or not. Lucia left after midnight. I sat in bed for hours, the blouse on my lap. I could go back. Or I could walk away forever. I went to the mirror again, blouse in hand. I lifted it to my chest and smiled. The next day, I got a text from Miss Carter. Don't fight it, Jessica. You were never meant to be him. I'm proud of my daughter. She'll be back soon. My fingers hovered over the screen. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. And when I opened my closet that night, I didn't reach for a hoodie. I reached for the heels.